Hey, welcome back. We did Bar Down
We did it.
Breakdown. We're here again. This is episode 1 something.
42.
My
142.
God, we got
Like
so
one
many.
after 141. That's how it works, Tom.
I don't know, man. I'm not a maths guy. What I am is a calling all captains guy. We've got Nick. He's here. Slowly getting better. Just came out like 2 weeks ago. It is a fucking banger of a record. It's awesome. I really love it. I have a copy on the clear with red and green. That's limited to 250. That means only 249 other suckers have that record, but I'm sure they're all enjoying it just as I have. So, Nick, pleasure to have you. I'm stoked to talk about the new record and some Oilers talk and, why you guys haven't written a full ass record about Connor McDavid yet, but we'll get to it. We'll get to all of it.
Oh, we'll definitely get to that for sure. No, and I do want to clarify, 247 other people because I bought 2 copies for myself.
Hey,
so
there you go.
yeah.
Love that.
You gotta bet on yourself. That's the number one thing I've
Absolutely.
learned in this industry.
So, I just have a kind of a question of curiosity. So, you guys are on Equal Vision. Did Equal Vision like press the record, or did someone else press it?
So we're
Is it like a
actually signed
collab?
to 3 different labels.
Okay.
One was when we got the Equal Vision deal, we got
Yeah.
Rude alongside to kind of
Okay.
help with the European stuff.
Got
So
it.
we've been with them for 3 years now, since before the EP kind of thing came out. And then over this past year, we actually got we had licensed, like everything was signed everywhere except for Canada.
Okay.
And when we had the deal, they very much were open to, hey, yeah, we want you guys to have Canada because you're a Canadian band. We want you, like, you guys know the market. There's no reason for us to take a cut of the money when you're the guys doing the work up there.
Mhm.
And so they left us alone up here for 2 years, and we were just like, the EP cycle went well. I mean, the fact that we wrote 5 songs for 2 years is incredible. But it all went really well, and we just kind of hit a point where we're like, okay, cool. What's the next step? What's the next logical thing for us to do? And it was get a Canadian label. So we
Mhm.
signed with New Damage Records up here, who then the collab was between EVR and New Damage, and the family we have going is incredible. Jacob with New Damage and Steph with EVR have just like the meetings we're having back and forth, and it's all just been really seamless. They came to us and they're like, hey, what do you want to do for vinyl? And like the first record for the EP, we only did 1 variant. So we never really thought about like, oh, you get to do multiples. And Equal Vision's like, well, we want 2. And New Damage is like, oh, well, if they're getting 2, we'll get 2. So then all of a sudden, like, I get to play this game of, okay, what do I want to see?
Yeah.
And so we sat down and kind of went over it. And yeah, EVR got the, my wife's been calling it the Funfetti record. Because it's kind of that milky clear with the red and green.
Yeah, it's nice looking,
this initially it was like the only way to pre-order the blue and black one was through Rude Records, and they only put 25 out. So there's like a bunch of people that got it very exclusively.
Nice.
And now it's also, I'm pretty sure as I say that, it's for sale with the EVR store. If not, it's through sale through our store once I get that back up and running.
Cool.
And New Damage got the red and black smash, which they limited to 100, and then the green and clear variant that they did 400 of.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it really is like, I had the opportunity to, spin the record on the turntable. It sounds great. That's always like a thing that is a little worrisome. Like, being like a vinyl guy for so long, they always say that like clear variants sometimes like don't sound the best. I mean, of course, like the biggest culprit are picture discs. Those always sound like doo-doo. But yeah, I mean, when I spun the variant I have, it sounds great. It's awesome. I mean, the first time I listened to it actually through headphones, right off of Apple Music. But on vinyl, it sounds just as good, if not better. A lot of depth. But I just want to kind of talk about it a little bit because it really is. I've listened to it probably 3 or 4 times already, and I'm really, really digging it. For me, as a big fan of like kind of this Canadian punk rock meets a little bit of skate punk meets a little bit of like, techie stuff. It gives me, and I'm sure you've gotten these comparisons before, but, I hear Daggermouth in there and I hear Living with Lions in there. I mean, you guys necessarily aren't as frenetic and fast as the Full Blast, but like I get some of that like techiness of the Full Blast in there. So a lot of comparisons to different Canadian bands, but I also get like, you know, a little bit of Wilhelm in there and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, the process of coming off of an EP, right, and then essentially writing a full length. How does that kind of work? Because I know you were joking before, like you kind of wrote it, you know, you wrote a 5-song EP for a while, but if you're coming off of an EP as a band, even if it's like your first record, do you feel a lot of pressure, like writing a full length, just being like, man, I hope all these songs hit, you know, where they need to hit kind of deal?
Yes and no. I mean, we got very fortunate. And first of all, thank you so much for those comparisons. I was talking to Chase from Living with Lions earlier today because we've done a run with those guys. I'm a huge Comeback Kid fan, so like getting to hang out with those dudes, it's the same band, just different.
Of course,
music,
yeah, it's just different.
Sick.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
But we also in one of the Niles from Broadside and Point North and Mest and whatever other million projects he's played in. The only message I got from him about it was he just said "Children of Alexis on Fire." I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Love it.
But yeah, no, like we got. It's awful to say, but we were very fortunate in the pandemic with that because there wasn't any pressure for us. Like we knew we had time, we knew we had the ability because we were initially planning on going to Columbus to record the record in like April of 2020. So in peak pandemic, the world's shutting down, borders are closed. So we couldn't. So we had to sit and kind of rework our plan.
Yep.
But the label was super understanding with all. So we kind of just took the extra couple of months and sat and worked on the songs a little bit more. And I think when we wound up going into the studio, we had something like 30 or 40 songs.
Oh, wow.
That they were just like, hey, we want you to make 10. And we got down to those last 11 and we were just like, we can't get rid of any of these. Like we'll pay the difference for the extra one.
Yeah.
Just to have it on there because everybody has something on this record that we're all really proud of. I've talked about it before too. There's songs on this record that like all of us are just like, this is the greatest fucking song we've ever written. And then there's songs on the record that some of us are completely indifferent on. And so when we got down to the debate of, you know, what's going to make it and what's not, it kind of stopped being so much of a personal thing. It's like we had to understand that there was a reason somebody would want a song on there, even if we didn't agree with it. And so it got really awesome. The label was super, super happy and super comfortable with it. And like we finished recording in like the end of July of 2020, and we've sat on this record for 14 months.
Oh, wow. 14 months.
Now, was that to like wait for touring to start back, or?
It was a mix of a bunch of things. Like we knew we didn't want to rush this and put it out, being the baby band that we are. It didn't make sense for us to put out a record and then a year later still not be able to do anything with it. So we wanted to make sure we could get a release show, which was very important to us. And we also felt it was very important to the people that have supported us and our fans and our families. Just make sure that everybody could celebrate this record properly instead of it just being hey, we're going to put it up on Discord and we'll all hang out. It doesn't feel as personal as being in the room with people. And our families all came out to the show. Like we got to be face to face and I got to see my parents' reaction to what the next level of Captains is. But we kind of ran into, I don't want to say a problem because it was the greatest problem we could ever had. When I was talking before about the New Damage stuff, we took the record to them after we got it. Like we recorded, we mixed it, we mastered it. We took it to them. We're like, we have an album. Would you like to put it out? And they said, yes, but we want to remix it. And so we had a bit of a delay going back and forth, and they sent it to like 2 or 3 people and got a spec mix done that we were like, you know, this sounds too radio. The drums are really pulled back. The vocals are really at the forefront, but Tim's a phenomenal drummer. We want to showcase some of what he can do. And okay, well, they're taking like the guitar solo lead is too low. It just doesn't feel like it's a solo. It feels like a bridge. So we went back and forth and we wound up actually landing with Caleb Shomo, who a big reason that the record does sound as good as it does on vinyl is Caleb's the kind of guy who appreciates making sure every medium can be heard right.
Absolutely.
And so we went to him. He cut us an absolutely amazing record, mastered and everything. We went back to New Damage and they said, that's what we want to put out.
Nice.
So we had this delay of probably 8 months out of the last 14 that we're just getting the record mixed and ready to go. And then, like I said, we got the date that as soon as we got the approval, we went to A to Z printing and said, when can we get this by? And they said October 29th. And so we said, that's the release day.
Nice. Yeah.
And we rolled with it and everything worked out well. I think we got our copies from New Damage on like the 26th.
Okay.
And then we got our copies from EVR on the 29th. So like
Yeah.
It's 6 p.m. The doors are at 8 for the show. My wife had to come back from the venue to the house, get all the records, bring them back to the show, and then we got to sell them, and people actually got to get them, which
Awesome.
was one of the most important things for us. Is like, we don't want to go into this, and we did it with the EP. We put the vinyl out a year later, and yeah, it sold well, but just it's not part of the celebration without it.
No, I totally agree with that. And we were talking a little bit, before we kind of went live with the episode about how excuse me, vinyl collecting is kind of like a scary thing right now, because it's the medium that a lot of alternative artists want to use, because you get a bigger piece of packaging than you do with a CD. You get the fidelity of a record, versus what you might get, on a CD or a digital copy. But the turnaround times for this stuff is enormous. I've talked about it before. I was just talking about Pure Noise Records, one of our favorite records here on the podcast. They just announced Drug Church, great band, is putting out a new record. Now, I don't know if they're holding their release date off until the vinyl is ready. It kind of seems like they are, since they have the record slated to come out in the end of March, and it's November now. So maybe that's something that artists are going to start doing. But it's a tumultuous time right now for vinyl in general. One of the things I can say, though, No Sleep kind of announced on their Twitter that they're doing it, another label that I love, is I think what they're going to start doing is they're not going to sell vinyl until the vinyl is ready. But what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, Charmer, just to say Charmer, is putting out, this, new record on January 14th, 2022. The vinyl won't be ready until August. So if you buy a digital or a CD copy, when the vinyl comes out, you'll A, get first crack at it, and B, get a discount on it, is kind of what they're looking at doing, which I think is like such a great thing. I wish every label would adopt something like that, because, the whole idea of giving $25 or $30 and having to wait 9 months. I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of cool as like, surprise, I just got this record in the mail. But at the same time, it's like, why am I going to put all this money towards something, if I can't have it? So,
dude, on that exact same point, I've spoken of this before. I accidentally bought a Day to Remember's new record on gold vinyl over a year ago. I still don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna get it, but it's just one of those ones that like you half feel cheated about it, but then at the same point, like I forget about it for like 3 months at a time, and then one day it's just gonna show up, and I'm like, okay, cool, like I have this now. I've got, I think, a dozen records that I'm waiting for that just between pre-orders and shipping delays and everything else that I'm like, they're gonna be here, but eventually, sometimes I'm waiting 3, 4, 5 months for it, and it does kind of suck.
Yeah.
When I was deep in my record collecting, I didn't like pre-ordering wasn't as like delayed as it is now.
Oh yeah, no.
But there were times where like I almost bought the same exact record twice, because like I pre-ordered it and like a month or two went by and I like forgot that I pre-ordered it, and I almost pre-ordered it again. I had to go in like my emails to see like, oh wait, no, I already bought that record.
Yep. Yeah,
so, I'm sure like that's definitely going to happen to a bunch of people, especially if they're waiting close to a year for them.
Oh, for sure. And that's why, like I said, as nerdy as it is, the vinyl spreadsheet that I keep is perfect. Every time I update it, it automatically sends a copy to my phone. So, if like, something pops up on like Discogs or one of those places, I can just be like, oh, did I buy this yet? And I can just cross-reference and make sure, because sometimes, you buy the same record, and then what do you do?
Oh, dude, I've wound up getting gifted the same record 2 or 3 times, and I'm just like, I don't like. It's great, but it's the same variant. Like, I just don't know what to do with those extras. I wound up giving my dad a copy of Menzinger's after the party, and I was like, I love this record. You would also love this record, and so now my dad listens. I don't know if he's ever listened to it. I don't know if his turntables are set up. My dad has an extensive collection, like in their basement, in boxes, in a storage room, and I'm like, just put it on a shelf, just bring it out and show. Like, it's the thing now, I promise you. So
absolutely. And I mean, like, I could totally understand. Dads should love the Menzingers. I mean, if you love Springsteen and you love,
that's my dad, man. Like Springsteen, I was raised on the Boss because of it.
Absolutely. Actually, I just picked up at a flea market this past weekend Springsteen and the E Street Band put out like a 5 LP live like anthology. And it's just like literally 5 records full of just live Boss tracks from like 1975, and I scooped it for like $10, and I'm really excited.
That's
really
awesome.
excited to listen to it. Yeah, love Springsteen. So,
I want to come in, Tom. So, Nick,
okay.
you mentioned your record release show and how you finally got that moment, because the last time we had you on, you guys had that moment where you got to open for the Offspring. But like, what was this moment like, being your own moment, not the Offspring's, but yours?
The days were almost like run identical. Like, we got there early for our load in. Our manager Cam, who's also my boss working with Beartooth, does lighting design and tour managing, convinced us that, hey, you know what, you want to go big band shit, let's go big band shit. And so we wound up renting like a full production floor set from a company in Calgary, and like Luke's dad drove down in our van the night before, loaded everything up at 9 a.m. and drove it to the venue, packed everything in. So we're loading in at 2:00, bringing in like full production, getting all our gear in, getting all our merch in, getting everything kind of ready. So we had downtime. We wound up sound checking at like 5:30 in front of the first and only banner this band has had, is a 15 by 20 foot backdrop that just says "Calling All Captains" on it. And so we got to bring that in, which was like super cool. And fortunately, this venue had like a balcony behind the stage that we could tuck the banner behind, so nobody else had to have it. Because I hate seeing a band when it's got somebody else's backdrop behind it.
Yeah.
And like, we had all our homies playing. I don't want to like take away from them. Like, Gutter King are amazing, Dead Friends are dope, and Mobina Galore are fantastic. So we didn't want to ruin their stage setup. We wanted to give them all the space and everything that we would get ourselves. So we did all that. But like, we're sound checking in front of it, and every time I'm turning around to like adjust something on my amp, it's the biggest shit grin on my face of just, I can see that name up there. Felt really good. And like, we had a walkout track. We played like a Hall & Oates song to get everybody hyped and like killed the lights, and the mood just went right. And it is the most professional I've ever felt in my life as a musician. And like, again, we finished that set and I went backstage, I stone cold a couple beers for myself, and like, I'm walking out and I'm talking to people, and I can't go more than a foot before somebody else is trying to talk to me. And I never thought that I would have that in Edmonton, let alone anywhere. So it was a really cool, and it meant something because people actually give a shit about this record, which it's not just the 5 of us that are really proud. It's not our parents that are stoked. It is every person that was there was singing along and hype and buying merch and crowd surfing and moshing and photos and videos.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people coming out to the show that like Connor, me, and Luke haven't seen in 10, 12, 15 years that like we went to junior high and high school with showing up. Yeah. And so like, that was a moment all in itself.
Well, I'm glad that you guys waited and had it. And, you know, I feel like every band that grinds as hard as you guys do deserves that. And, you know, this is just the start, honestly. So you're going to have many more moments like that. I can guarantee it.
I'm going to keep hoping for it, but I really appreciate that, boys. Thank you so much.
So what is, so like kind of, you know, I don't know if you could divulge too much, but, you know, what's on the horizon for Calling All Captains in terms of you know, tours and all that kind of stuff coming up?
This Friday was it. That was the last thing any of us had planned.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're in a really weird situation. We don't have an agent, so I still do all of our booking.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those opportunities where it's okay, I can sit and I can book like a headliner through Western Canada that we've done a dozen times over.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have amazing shows. We're going to see a ton of friends.
Yep.
But I don't really know if that gives us growth, and I don't know if it's a step in the right direction or if it's just a step horizontal. So
sure,
it's figuring that one out. I know the game plan is like we all took this week off and next week off just to kind of, we've been going so hard. We all need some time for ourselves and work on our other relationships and our other interests and just take care of all that.
Sure.
So we're all on that. But after that, like Luke and Connor are going straight back to writing LP2.
Oh, wow.
Like where we sat on this record for a year. There's a whole lot, like, we talk about a lot of heavy shit in this one. A lot more has happened. So there's content there that we can start tapping into and writing about and celebrating and mourning and being a part of. Yeah. But right now it's, hey, if anybody wants to take Captains on tour, let me know. Let's go. We are not against being on the road. Everybody who knows us knows that we've done some ridiculous tours in our day.
So are we saying maybe come into the States if the offer was on the table?
Hey, I've got my visa and I'm ready to go. I don't care where, when, how, I'm making it happen.
So have you So since you handle all the booking and still do, have you like personally had to take care of all that for the band before?
Yep.
Like
Those Offspring shows, it was like I got the phone call for it from somebody in Nashville, got my number and was like, "Hey, do you want to play these gigs?" Anything that comes across the table, if it's booking in almost any regard, goes straight to me. There was 3 shows the guys did while I was gone, out with Beartooth. One of which was an email to me, and then one was like a friend of a friend, and the third one was the guy who was putting on our show in Edmonton. So arguably I handled booking for 2 of those 3 shows in a different country for things I couldn't even play, and it bummed me out, but they did it. They did a good job.
Well, I guess what my question was, like, handling all those like visas to come over to the States, because you guys have played in the States before. So like, what was that process like to do it yourself?
It's a nightmare every time I do it. I still get stressed sitting down. Like, I have my old application that all I have to do is reference, and I can adjust what I need to and send it in, and it's great. But I still, like, I've heard horror stories of people getting turned away at the border after their visa was already approved. So like, I worry about that. And it is like, it's a lot of money for us to apply to come down. The last one I did was about $4,500. And we're not at that level that we're making that money back. So that's straight out of our own pocket. And we all work, we all grind out here doing 9 to 5s and stuff, but still, like, putting that much money towards something that could just wind up costing you more at the end of the day is stressful. Fortunately, I've never been turned away. There's no reason they would turn me away, but it's just like that haunting feeling in the back of my head. And we've been super fortunate that we've had people we can reference, and I've had a ton of people reach out to me. The boys from Dear Youth, right before their last run, Jared messaged me, and we went and walked through the entire kind of visa process. And they're fortunate because they're only like 5 hours from the visa office. I'm shipping stuff and hoping it gets there in the 2 days that they promise.
Yeah.